Tonight we are honored to have with us three of the chaplains that are serving in the Awana team over at Scottsdale Bible Church. And what they're going to be sharing with us tonight is the impact that that particular ministry has had on their lives, the impact that they have had on some of the children that are there, as well as I understand some of the families of the children. So Jason, would you like to start off and tell us what kind of a program and how that program's impacted you?
All right. Yeah, my name is Jason Collins. I'm one of the chaplains, and I graduated last year, 2018. And I've been doing Awana for 5 years. So I was helping in Awana at Scottsdale Bible Church before I became a chaplain. And then I went through the chaplaincy program and went back to help with Awana. So the change is really what I experienced, working with the children. Much like most of us, we start because our children go to the program, and we bring our children to church and we tell them, you should join, you should read the Bible. So then you become a leader so you can be around your child, right? So you're dropping them off, you go and volunteer, and that's really what it was all about. It was more of a, being a good parent. And once you're in there, you're going through this Awana program, which is amazing. So it's actually teaching you about the Bible step by step in children's script, so you can't miss the point. So it's really letting your children see you be involved in their lives. So that's the point. I think that's the main reason why most parents join Awana. And going to men's group in Awana, at the same time, I learned about the chaplaincy program through Bill and through Darian, and I wanted to learn more. So being involved in Awana, you're a teacher, you're teaching the children. So I wanted to learn more and be more of a person that could understand a deeper meaning of the Bible. So when I'm talking to the children, I would have more of a respect for what I'm saying, I would have more respect for the Bible. And side benefit, I actually started to learn that I was talking through the children to the parents. So there's a lot of parents that was asking the children, well, what are you talking about? So the more I learned from Darian, the more I learned from Bill, the more I learned from Men Coaching Men, the better I was able to understand how this child that would go home and say, hey, what we talked about today, I would give them, relevant verses, ask them why, right? Connect the dots. I started to do these things with these children that we were doing in chaplaincy. And it really changed the scope of the game. So when the parents, come and pick up the children, I had a much better conversation with these parents. And I had more of an interest in their lives. And being a chaplain, knowing that if there was an issue that these families was having, I could actually help now. I had biblical training, I can go in and help them. So these are types of things that not only made me more comfortable, I think it made me just feel like I was being a better father. So it's kind of the feeling you get. I did the due diligence of learning about the Word, and I think God wants us to be a light, and the only way we'll be a light is if we learn and read the example that He sets for us.
Amen. Thank you, Jason. Mark.
I'm Mark Cole. I graduated the chaplain program 4 years ago. I just finished my 9th year in Awana. Like Jason, I got started when my son was going into 3rd grade. And there was this program, we were new to the valley, at a large church. And so I asked him, do you want to do this program? Yeah. Do you want me to be a leader? Yeah. Okay. So I did. And, that really allowed me to get connected with people. How do you make a big church small? You get involved in a project, you get involved in a ministry, and then you can connect with people. And so my son graduated 5 years ago, and I've just continued with the Awana program because I love being there to see the kids and to help get them, through their verses and things like that. The chaplain program really helped me in being able to, I think, see the importance of asking them the deeper questions rather than you just recited the verse. Well, what does that verse mean? And getting an opportunity, because I've got a captive audience, to be able to ask, well, what does that mean? And talk about what God is saying in that. And then asking them as they're reading through, because there's a lot of, part of it is important things about that God wants you to know about your family, about faith, about God, about the church, and kind of challenging them to think a little bit. I do appreciate Awana because it's the easiest ministry you can ever be involved in. Each kid has their own book. Each kid is going at their own pace, and all you have to do is show up, love on them, be excited, and I've had in the 9 years over 70 kids that I've taught, and one of the things that I've really been excited to see is the Awana program ends in 6th grade, and I've had 8 of those kids come back the following year as 7th graders to become leaders with the even smaller children, and that's seeing God do that. My job is to get them excited about God and about His Word and about how that interacts. But then seeing them take that and then want to come back and give to, the 4 and 5-year-olds and the 6 and 7-year-olds the same way that they were given to, that is very humbling. But that's part of what we're supposed to do as disciple makers, is to teach so that we can expand the influence of the gospel as the people that we've taught go out and they start teaching, and then those people start teaching.
Thank you, Mark. James,
Yes.
your story.
Okay. I'm kind of the new guy. I was brought into the program by Jason. He brought me in, and what was good for me is my background's in education. I ended up mainly doing adult education, work education, stuff like that, but now I got to see the other side of it. And also going through the chaplaincy program, mixing those two together, and then kind of putting it to action, teaching what's close to my heart, and that's the gospel. And going into the classroom, I did not know what to expect doing it, but coming, my background really, I do men's ministry and children's ministry, not teaching in men's ministry, but teaching in Awana. And I got to see the contrast of how God works in both groups, and Awana, you get that instant feedback. Those kids are excited. They embrace the teachings, and I teach the Sparks group, which is the 2nd grade group. I've done 2 full years now, and just their enthusiasm and wanting to learn, and God's presence in all of this. I mean, God's presence in their learning, God's presence in my growth as a chaplain and a Christian is, I go in there, because I work full-time plus during the day, and I go in there on Wednesday nights, and I'm kind of tired and I'm worn down from the day, and sit down at my table and I start talking with the kids and teaching and getting into their booklets, and it just puts that energy in me, and it's just it's a really good thing. And so we do verses, and then we have the opportunity. The program, as most of you already know, but the program's 3 parts. We do their books and verses in the first part, and then we get the opportunity to go downstairs and do worship and story time. And then 2nd graders, we all know they got a whole bunch of energy. So we wrap it up with gym time, where they go in the gym and play games, and just good time of fellowship for everybody. But it's really really been a blessing that I'm able to take one day a week and just see God's work in those kids and God's work in me as well. So truly a blessing, and very grateful to be part of it.
So I think we can get a sense that this really has an impact not only on you, but also on the kids. And it sounds like the chaplaincy program has played a significant role in preparing you. What do you think, Jason, is the most important takeaway that you got from chaplaincy that you've been able to apply to Awana?
There's a lot of, the most impactful thing that I took from chaplaincy is the pastoral care part of it. So I think, you know, when you're involved with the children, just knowing the answers to the questions about the families, I think that is the toughest thing when you're in Awana and you're with the children and they say, I'm going through a divorce. Why are you here? Well, I don't know if my parents are coming back. You know, those are the hard questions. I didn't have any answers before chaplaincy at all. And I didn't have any real sense of, okay, maybe your parents will never come back. I wouldn't know what to say. But I think chaplaincy brought such a confidence to me that not only do I understand, you know, the biblical answers behind, you know, the value of family, you know, what to do in those situations, and I could pray with those children and in confidence know what I'm praying for. So those are, and then it became important to me to pray. Before it wasn't important to me to pray in those situations. It was just important for me to find the parents, or to say, okay, man, I'm gonna have a late night, you know, where are they? That would be the most important thing to me, is to get home on time. Whereas after leaving chaplaincy, there was a big switch. You know, there's a responsibility. This is the time that I'm now able to pray with this child and let them know that I'm here for them as an adult, as a Christian adult.
So you've been able to bring the ministry of presence to a young person.
Absolutely.
I know we've heard people before talk about how they bring the ministry of presence to adults.
Right.
But this is unique, because you're bringing this to young folks, and they really appreciate it. They connect.
Yeah, they give you, like you were saying, it's just immediate feedback. It's a lot different than adults, so you don't have that delay. So it's really rewarding.
Mr. Mark, you were involved before, and what's the biggest thing from chaplaincy that's had an impact on the way that you conduct yourself on Wednesday nights with the kids?
It's probably just implementing the ministry of presence. You know, it's very easy. You get back, you know, go straight from work to Awana, and it's very easy to, you know, just kind of go through the motions. Okay, bring your book, let's go through, get the verse right. I didn't do that a lot, but, you know, going through the chaplain program, and learning more about the ministry of presence is, how do I make sure that that kid knows that I am engaged with them, that I am present with them, that I'm listening to what it is and the things that they're going through. And I think that's been one of the things that's really helped kind of kick off, you know, as I become more involved and get to know the kids better, and they get to trust me more because they know that I actually care about them. You know, I've had, it's primarily from the, you know, for me, it's with the older kids, it's mostly hearing back from parents. Thank you so much. You know, my boy wants to show up every single week because you're here and because you're, you know, you're such a great teacher. I'm not a great teacher. I'm just showing up and I'm being there for them. You know, and really, that's allowed me to learning more about the ministry of presence has allowed me to stay, make sure that I'm prepared to be engaged with the kids when we get there, because, I've got, most years, I've got about 10 boys at a table at any time. And trying to get through and connect can be a challenge unless you're prepared to be able to handle that. And, that's been a big plus.
So it sounds like being able to go heart to heart with these kids
Yeah.
really makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And even at that age, they're open to that.
Absolutely. They crave that more than anything, because, if they know that you care about them, that you are wanting to connect and hear what's going on and encourage them when they're having a hard time with something, learning a verse. It's never, we'll just keep studying harder. It's, I know you can do this. I've seen you do it 100 times. It's, let's go through the verse together, and then you can, join alongside of them and help them with the big words or the difficult concepts that some of the verses bring in. And then they get the verse, and you should see you guys know, you see the smile on their face when they get it right. It's like they just won the Super Bowl and they're going to Disney World. And that's no joke, that's not an exaggeration. That's how they feel when they get those.
Amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So James, what's the biggest impact from chaplaincy that you've been able to carry over into Awana? I know you've only been there a short time, but...
Well, there's many things. To kind of tie off with what Mark said here, impact. Just speaking of how they embraced the learning and the word. I had one little boy that was learning verses towards the end, and they're so enthusiastic, and they want to complete their book and carry through on it. And like I said, we break the class up into 3 different times where we'll have time to study verses and then go to story time. I had one little guy that just inspired me, where he had probably about 4 or 5 verses to go on his book, and it had ended, and we were all heading down to story time. And we got down to story time, and he was insistent. He wanted to go back up to that classroom, and he wanted to finish those 4 or 5 verses. That just warmed my heart, and I mean, straight from God, that his enthusiasm, and he gave up that time with, because they like to stay together as a group, and his focus was on going back and learning those verses. So that's one memory I take away from last year. And another thing that I think is a blessing, we're all parents, and we know that the weeks get busy. There is so much stuff going on, and just to sit down and catch your breath sometimes is not always happening. So I think I look at the parents, and they drop off their kids, and they're able to take off and go work out. And mothers and fathers are able to go have a date night or go out to dinner, and they're able to just maybe sit down at the cafe and have a cup of coffee and share some time with friends. So I see that as another thing that's a blessing for Awana, for the children and their parents.
So I'd like to thank all 3 of you for your service. You're 3 of 5 are chaplains that are serving. And last time I did a count, it looks like the 5 of you have touched the lives of well over 200 young people. And I think that's quite a blessing. And I really appreciate the service that you're providing, not only to those young folks, but also to the youth pastor there at Scottsdale Bible Church. I think that the ability for us to serve not only in the community, but also in the church is extremely important. And it's an amazing balance we've been able to achieve here with heart-to-heart chaplains. Because we do have a number of folks that are serving out in the community, but as you folks are serving, you're serving in the home church. I thank you all for your service.
I thought of just one last thing, that is not only applicable with the kids, but with dealing with anyone. Again, in Awana, I show up and the kids know that I highly value God and that I highly value God's word, and that those, that God and his word are so very important that gets, projected onto them, that wait a minute, here's this guy, and he highly values God, and he highly values God's word, so much so that he's willing to be here to talk to me about that. When we value things greatly, that value gets shown to anybody we're interacting with. And so that's not something that's just for, the Awana, but for any relationship, any ministry is, we're called to be a city on a hill. We're called to reflect the image of Christ. And so, just show everyone how much Christ's sacrifice means to you and how much God's word means to you, because that's how he reveals himself to us and teaches us how we're supposed to live and how we're supposed to love.
Well said, Mark, and thank each one of you for being those ambassadors for Christ that we need so much in this day and age. So keep up the good work, gentlemen. Thank you.